someone like that either makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
Most of the time, breaks you. It could have broke me.
The former British, the former Commonwealth, and the former European champion, Lightning Lee McGregor!
Just come off the back of literally a couple of weeks ago fighting on Riyadh season on the Fury-Usyk undercard. Riyadh season, what was that like?
From the start of the year, didn't really know where I was going to go in my career, and finishing the year on, like you say, one of the biggest events boxing scene.
What's it like being around Fury-Usyk, that the team on a card like that? You've started your career and this is a kind of step up to like world level.
I knew I had a dream and nothing was going to stop me. I achieved so much so quickly in a short space of time, and it was almost like, where do we go now? Selected for Scotland, and we had a straight final in the March 2014 GB final against Sonny Edwards, who's now obviously world champion. Beat him as well. I had the really good world championships with GB, and that's when I got the call from Barry McGuigan. He wanted me to turn professional. That same day that I won that GB title, I lost my mum. And that was the start of really bad, tough times for me in 2017. You never really get over it, you know, you just learn how to deal with it. I've become the fastest fighter in Britain ever to win British, Commonwealth, European titles. There's nothing I want to do more than spend quality time with Amber and Maddie, and that. This is what the bits you don't see. I just wish that my granda could have been here to see that.
Mate, he'll be so proud of you for where you've got to. There's one time that your hand hasn't been raised. What's that like? I
really would love to fix that. Like, I just keep a lot of this stuff to myself. 2019, I became British champion as a pro, and I'd never ate a vegetable in my life. I'm going on like I'm having to do like some bush tucker trial and I'm a celebrity. It was to eat some veg.
Fighters have all this hate and this beef before fights. How much of that is actually true?
There's probably one fight in my career that I've went in it where I've had real hate and real emotion towards it, and like I keep saying, I'm going into 2025 the best version of myself. All them experiences, I'm really confident that this is going to be my year. A couple of weeks ago when my hand got raised, you just think and you say, I'll go through that pain 10 times over again for this feeling.
Welcome to the show where we talk to successful people about the bits you don't normally see. Today we're talking to Lee McGregor, who is a boxer, already had 15 wins, including beating 2 undefeated fighters. Just come off the back of literally a couple of weeks ago fighting on Riyadh season on the Fury-Usyk undercard. Had an incredible career so far, and really looking forward to this conversation. So Lee, how you doing?
Yep, all good, mate, all good. It was good to see you. Nice to catch up in Dubai, so yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, mate. It's great to have you on. Let's start with what we've just said there, Riyadh season. What was that like, literally 2-3 weeks ago?
Just an experience I'll never ever forget. It was unbelievable from start to finish. Going from, like say, being back home, start of the year, didn't really know where I was going to go in my career, and finishing the year on, like you say, one of the biggest events boxing scene. The experience is something I'll, like I say, never ever forget. It was amazing.
Yeah, nice. And obviously I'm living in this region now, so I probably get the whole the Prince Turkey stuff and like how big he is. What is it like from like boxing perspective? Is he as big in boxing as what, you know, people in this region maybe think he is?
Oh, definitely. You've just got to look at the events, the shows, the fights he's putting on, the fighters he's getting over. It's making massive win. Well, look at for how many years of British boxing fans, not even just British boxing fans, but world boxing fans wanted Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren come together and start working together and putting these fights together. Nobody's been able to do it, and Turkey has. And look at some of the events and nights we've experienced because of that. And I honestly do believe that it's just going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, and I'm the same, mate. I think that, we said this before, like, I think that this region's just going to grow and grow and grow, and it is massively down to him. Do you, like, meet him? Like, do you talk to him when you're there?
I'd never spoke to him personally, but I've seen him, obviously. We were on, I don't know if it was seen, it was documented anyway, on the Grand Arrivals. We're on this big plane, coming down on the red carpet from that was just amazing. He was on that with us. But no, just his team and his people. You speak to everyone and you hear their plans, and like you said, I do. If it is already the new area for boxing, I remember when I was younger, my dream, and as a young boy, I used to watch like Ricky Hatton in Vegas and stuff back in the day, and that was, if you got a chance, or even, it was almost like an unrealistic dream was to fight in Vegas. That was mine. I believe that's what Saudi's becoming for the young up and coming guys now. At my age, when I was in these shoes, and like I say, it was my dream was Vegas. I think Saudi's becoming that now, and like we just said there, all the new events and new things that they're doing, I think it's going to be, they're going to take over with everything.
Yeah. Now, I asked ChatGPT yesterday what is the biggest boxing event of 2024, and the card that you were on was the second biggest. So you've literally fought on the second biggest card, according to AI, of the year. What's it like being around Fury-Usyk, the team, all those sorts of things on a card like that?
It's just amazing. I've been in and around Tyson team and his team in that before. Funny enough, I went down to Manchester early on in my pro career to that camp to spar Isaac Lowe, who my opponent was a couple of weeks ago. So I've been in and around some big names again, like Josh Taylor's undisputed camp. We went over to Vegas. I was part of the team then, so I've had some big experiences, but it's been through other fighters, which I'm so grateful for, and I feel like that made me and prepared me for this occasion a couple of weeks ago, because I could have easily froze. This was someone else, and it was unbelievable. Almost felt starstruck at times. You're walking about the hotel and you're sharing the hotel with Prince Nassim Hamed, and it was just, again, it doesn't even feel real now thinking about it and talking about it. But I do think all my previous experiences, like being part of Josh Taylor's undisputed camp in Vegas, I was Billy Joe Saunders, trained alongside him in Vegas as well. Big names. So I do think that helped me. But this, me myself fighting and me having to deal with all the pressure and interviews, media, I feel like I handled it well, and I did say this in the build-up as well, that I really need to just focus here and try and not let this occasion get to me, because it can get the better of you and then you can't perform at your best. And I handled it, I feel like, pretty well and come out with a win. So that was always the most important thing. And
it was a big win as well. Like, it was a clear win. I'm not like, I watch a bit of boxing, so I'm not like some pro, person that can score it, but it was a comfortable win, it looked like, from me watching it. And on the scorecards.
No, definitely scores were wide. I felt like I showed a bit of everything. Like my last few fights, I just sort of went down that road of warrior mentality, braveheart. What us Scots are like. We just love to fight, especially me. But again, I had to, and I was remembered and reminded that I have got good boxing skills, and I went back to that at times. I still obviously had to dig in and fight in the pocket when I had to, but I feel like I showed a bit of everything, and the old me, the boxer, come back out, which people haven't seen for a while, and I got good feedback on that. But again, what people don't need to remember as well, that was my first fight at a level like that in a long time. So it was obviously coming off the back of 2 fights earlier on in the year, but nowhere near that level, because I had to come back and sort of build myself back up again, and almost felt like my career was starting again. But it was the situation that I was in, and I had to deal with it, and I feel like that gave me the momentum back that I needed going into this big fight in December. So although it was tough to go back to, like say, the shows that you almost feel like that's what you do in your professional debut, small hall in the hotels, and I haven't experienced the nights that I have done, like the nights with Cash Farouk, headlining big shows in Scotland, fighting all over the world. And then to go back to, again, like you feel like you're starting your career again, people would maybe say, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But it was the best thing I'd done, and that's what I came back. I got 2 back-to-back wins, and I got the big fight on the like you said. So I didn't know that was the second biggest card. I thought it was the biggest in my opinion, but massive.
That's just AI. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought, because that's a really independent thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I know. So, well, again, I think, well, you look at February as well. You got the Derby Bivol rematch. That card, one of the best cards I've seen. Who knows what 2025 is going to bring, and I'd love to be back out there involved.
Yeah, nice. So that it feels like this is a kind of transition from like you've started your career, and this is a kind of step up to like world level. What takes us to this point? Like, start from the start. Talk us through your career so far.
Yeah, so it's been a mad career, to be honest. First, obviously, amateurs is where everyone started. These days, there's fighters turning pro and going pro without even having had an amateur fight. But I think, in my advice to all young fighters or fighters coming through that want to go pro and turn pro, I do think you need to do at least a couple of years on the amateur circuit. I did that. I had my first amateur fight, 2012 it was. I was 15, quite late, to be honest, compared to the guys I was fighting with, and the level was sort of, I got to quite a high level quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I think why I got involved in boxing was through my older brother Connor. He's 14 months older than me. He was the boxer. He was Scottish champion, and he was going on to do. Everyone probably thought going on to do what I'm now doing. That was the way things were looking. You know, he was very, very successful as a young amateur, and I was just sort of building away in the back, and I was just that wee guy running about the gym. I was more sort of focused on football. I played with Livingston Pro Youth, but was always really small for my age, so that was kind of what was letting me down with the football. If I had my brother's size, I reckon I probably would maybe went down the football route, and I wouldn't be here today. So again, all these things happen for reasons, but another reason why I didn't start boxing till a bit later was because I had really bad skin when I was younger. You know, I had a skin condition, psoriasis, and that put me off. I was very self-conscious at a young age. You know what it's like when you're younger as well. And it's not kids being cheeky or whatever. It's just they don't know, you know, and you would have kids, what's that? And looking at you funny, and that was, I will say, that was really hard for me to deal with as a kid, you know, and that's why, like I keep saying, didn't start boxing till I was so late, because I wouldn't want to take my top off to get the medicals for the fights. I wouldn't even like my arms. It was in vests back in the day. I was honestly head to toe in psoriasis, so that played a part in why I started a bit later, but it got to that stage where I knew I had a dream and nothing was going to stop me, so I just battled on. I had, like I said, progressed quite quickly. I had my first 5 or 6 amateur fights. Remember it, again, it was quite like my professional career as well. Like, I achieved so much so quickly in a short space of time, and it was almost like, where do we go now? You know, it was October 20. I don't know if I'll get the right dates, but it was in the small time frames anyway. I remember, like, October 2013, I won the Scottish Novice Championships, which is under 6 fights. So, and then January 2014 was what you call intermediate championships, and that was between 7 to 14 fights. So I'd just made the intermediates from fighting in the novices in my 6th fight, and I'd got between the 7 to 14, so I was eligible to fight in the intermediates. In the January, won them, and then the Scottish Opens was February. So these were like just only months apart.
Yeah.
And then I remember my coaches back then was saying, people in the boxing world and stuff were saying, maybe leave it another year for Lee, get more experience, and he's just started really. Like, and I remember my coach saying, "No, he's going in. We believe in him." And February was the prelims, got through them, and then March, I remember, was the Scottish finals, and I fought a lad who was really high level back then. Back when we were younger, I think he had won the Scottish and British titles all years previous, and I remember it was him and Sonny Edwards. They used to always fight in the GB finals, and it was day 2, and everybody was talking about day 2 fighting in the GBs again, and I beat him in the Scottish finals in the March, and then that by winning the Scottish Championships, you get picked to represent Scotland, and again that was always my plan, but I didn't think I would be doing it 6 months on from just winning the Novice Championships, but I was selected for Scotland, and there we were. We had a straight final in the March 2014 GB finals at Meadowbank, which was where my amateur gym was. I was training against Sonny Edwards, who's now obviously world champion, just long retired, and again he's a guy I respect and I became close with throughout my professional career. Fought him in the March, beat him as well, and then that was so that was March 2014, and then you go October 2015, just like 6 months, 6 months, whatever it was. Prior, I had just won the Novice Championships. It was mad, and by winning the GBs, I was then selected for GB boxing to represent GB at the World Amateur Championships in the April. So these are just like months apart.
That's
and
mental.
I went over to, where was it? I think it was Bulgaria. With GB, we had all the team GB stuff. And again, like, I didn't really have, my dad done what he could for it. He was a single dad. He brought me and my 3 brothers up himself. It was tough. And then I was now getting flown across the country with GB. It was amazing. And then I went to the World Championships. I think I won a couple of fights over there, and I eventually lost to the Japanese guy. But it was just absolute, and that was amazing. From being October the previous year, just enjoy it. Started off as something I've always wanted to do. And then fast forward to April the following year, I was representing GB at the World Championships, and that's when I really just started kicking on with my career. In 2014, 2015 was youth years. 2016 again was the same. I won the Scottish titles all throughout them years. I think I maybe lost once or twice in Scotland as an amateur throughout my whole career, and then 2016 was my first year as a senior. I won the Scottish and British titles then, first year senior, and then my second year as a senior was 2017, which boxing terms wise was my breakout year. I feel like that was my year where I just the start of changing my life. I've won the Scottish GB titles again. I boxed in May 2017. It was the GB finals against another good English fighter, Louis Lynn. But that same day that I won that GB title, I lost my mum. And that was the start of really bad, tough times for me in 2017. I went from the highest to highs, winning the GB Elite title. And then, I had all my friends, family there. That was one of the best weekends of my life. I remember it was amazing. I had all my good people there with me. Unbelievable celebrations, unbelievable support. It was absolutely amazing. And obviously, it was a situation my gran and granddad were in at the time. And obviously, for anyone, I would hate to be in a position like that. Never mind my gran and granddad, they had to make a decision not to tell me and my brothers that my mum had passed away that same day I won the GB title, because they knew I just won the GB title.
Yeah.
You know, we were down in Cardiff, we were celebrating, and so we are on the highest of highs. Like say, just won the British title, having the best times of our lives. Whilst my mum's just passed away, and it's like one of the most. You never really get over it, you know.
Nah.
You just learn how to deal with it. But it was really, really a hard time, and then it wasn't until the Sunday we arrived back home, and I went straight to my amateur club's home show in the Gorgie Suite at Tynecastle in Meadowbank, and I remember going in there, and that's when my phone had went, because obviously it was getting to the stage now where my grand's obviously wanting us just to go home, but we're on this high. You know, we're still just...
And she can't tell you. She can't say, no, you need to come
Well,
home right now. 'Cause
exactly.
you're like, why? I've just won.
Exactly. So, and then I went and we got to the Gorgie Suite, and that's when she phoned, and I remember it, I'll never forget it. She did exactly that. You need to come home, son, or you need to come out. And I said, why? And I remember she couldn't even get her words out, and then I just broke down in the Gorgie Suite. And again, I had the people close to me and that care about me and that, and they were there, and obviously we had to deal with it. I got away, and then, you know, you have that situation where it's like someone like that either makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
Most of the time breaks you, and it could have broke me, but again, it was, what do I do? Do I go and grieve, or do I try and just keep pushing through and use this as some sort of motivation to just keep trying to do it proud? And then, so this was May 2017, and I remember, like I said, I was on GB and stuff now at this point, and I had the European Championships in the June of 2017, so I had to just keep battling through all this, you know, just keep training. And thinking back and looking back now, I don't know how I done it, but I think that's what was just kept me. You know, the gym was the only place I could sort of switch off and just take my mind off of things for whether it be an hour, 2 hours, however long I was in the gym. And then I went to the GBs, the Europeans. Done really well at them championships as well, and I qualified for the World, so I was going to the World Championships again, but these were the senior ones. But you had to get to a certain stage in the European Championships to qualify for these Worlds, and I had done that, which again was brilliant. And then I went to the World Championships, had a really good tournament. Like I said, 2017 boxing career-wise was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But life wasn't. It was the complete opposite. You know, I lost. The people know, like 2017 was horrendous for me. I lost a very close cousin of mine, my mum, my papa as well, which was my grandma's husband at the time. He passed away. And these were all in this short space of time. These were all round about between the May, September. Again, I can't remember these exact dates, but it was all one after the other kind of thing. And it was like, we were like, what the hell? So it was almost like unbelievable. And again, I was just training and trying to fight through all of this. And we just kind of wanted to get 2017 out the way.
Finished.
We'll just get that out the way and refocus. And then it was starting to look that way. I had the really good World Championships with GB, and that's when I got the call from Barry McGregor. He wanted me to turn professional. It was round about, 2017 time, so we'd had all that bad luck, and then I think, again, I might be off with dates, but it was 2017 he wanted me to turn professional, and then Josh Taylor was making his debut on I was making my debut on Josh Taylor's card at the Royal Highland Centre in Ingliston. He was fighting Miguel Vasquez, and he said, make your professional debut in Edinburgh. Don't want to be putting pressure on you, but
here's a load of pressure.
Yeah, you've got medicals, you've got a lot to do. We need to kind of make a decision. 2018 Gold Coast Commonwealth Games was always my plan. That was for amateurs.
Yeah.
So I would have had to turn that professional offer down if that was the case. And I was one of Scotland's hopes for a medal. So then I had to make a decision. I made it, and when pro made my debut in 2017, it was the start of my professional career. Like say, young, and people said that I should have stayed, should have went to the Commonwealth Games. You know, people disagreed with my decision, but April 2018 was the Commonwealth Games. I could have easily done something to my hand. I could have maybe even lost in the first round. Anything can happen. Got to just go with your gut instinct, and I don't regret my decision.
No.
Turned pro, had very fast tracked early professional career like my amateur days, and in October 2018 I was Commonwealth Pro Champion and beat Thomas Somba in a great 12-round fight in my 5th professional fight. And then you go back to April 2018, which was when the Commonwealth Games would have just finished. Like I said, I could have easily lost in the first round, or then you go to October 2018 and 5-0 as a pro Commonwealth champion. So again, I've rattled on a bit there, but just tried to get as much across as possible. But we're only in 2018 now. We're just went into 2025. Aye, so and again, COVID, everything like that played hiccups along the way. But I do honestly firmly believe going into 2025, I'm the best version of myself, and with all these experiences in life and my career, I'm really excited to see where I'm going to go in 2025.
Good. I mean, that's an amazing story already, and some of the stuff that you said there we'll pick up on later on.
Yeah.
I've spoke about kind of up to a certain point. I'm just going to pick out a few bits that I know, because obviously we've known each other, so I've kind of followed you all the way along. I think probably, well, the first thing that I think people probably did notice a little bit was when you first turned pro. I remember that being a really big thing, like should he, shouldn't he? And there was a lot of people that said, no, you shouldn't. What was the story there? How was that?
Just obviously, like I said, it was people that care about me, do you know what I mean? It was never anything bad. It was all, I'd say most of it was good, you know, like people knew how good an amateur I was and how big the Commonwealth Games was. And again, I wish I did go and won a gold medal. And you know, you look at the likes of Josh Taylor and that, what they went on and done after winning a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, and that unbelievable achievement and experience. Probably these guys will say was one of the best of their lives. But it was just one of them things, you know. I was again, not having much growing up. Again, my dad did what he could, you know. I'm not saying we had nothing, you know. He done well, but for a single dad, you can imagine it was tough. 3 boys as well. It wasn't going home to cook dinners on the table every night from your mum. Hot bath ran for you. It was, you know, we sometimes had to chippies between us. We were always fed and watered, but it was sometimes just takeaways and stuff like that. But I wouldn't change anything. It made me the guy I am today. So it was just. And then I went down there, and an offer I got, you know, I was brought up I was born in Wester Hales, brought up in Stockton Mains, and then travelled down to London alongside my dad and brother. And it was good hotels, fancy hotels, everything paid for, but it was just like, you know,
it must be mind-blowing.
Before and then when I got the professional offer, again, we'll speak about that, but like the offer I was presented to me was just unbelievable for us to have received that. And then I've not even just shows you how much I'd probably impressed people before I'd even went to the Commonwealth Games, which is obviously a massive audience, which would have probably got myself out there even more. And who knows, I maybe would have got a better offer
but you might be knocked out in the first round, like what you said.
First round, I could have done my hands before I went. So it was just that, and I went ahead with that decision, and I'm still, to this day, I don't regret it. You know, I'm grateful to everything that's happened in my career and life, and everyone else that I've worked with as well. You know, like I said, even when I went first turn pro with McGuigan's, it was a mad couple of years, but fast tracked really quickly. It was just big fight, and you go on, and I've become the fastest fighter in Britain. think, ever to win British, Commonwealth, European titles.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, in 10 fights. Nobody's need to go back in the books and try and see, but as it stands, I think I'm the quickest to ever do it.
Oh.
So, I just again, same as my amateur career, you just get thrown in there, sink or swim, and then. But that's my mindset and how I have been as a young kid.
Yeah.
You know, fearless, whether it be a bad thing or a good thing, and it's proved to be a bad thing, to be honest, sometimes. And this is why the older I'm becoming, the more wiser I'm becoming, the more experienced I'm becoming. You do sometimes have to make the right decisions for yourself, because back again, I'm still with the mindset I've got. I'll still be saying yes to everything, but I am starting to realise, and the longer I'm in this game, it is, you need to be smart, especially when, you know, I started boxing because I loved it, and I still do love it. It was a hobby of mine. But now with that, I've got a family to provide for. You know, I've got a daughter. Things need to make sense. But that doesn't change my mindset of wanting to fight the best and be involved in the big fights. You know, that actually makes me even more hungry for that. But at the same time, you just need to make sure and look out for yourself. And again, I feel like I've got good people around me. And yeah, the future is looking good and it's exciting.
So you mentioned your family there, and that's something that I wanted to speak about today, because you're one of the guys that I look at that, like, I'm not a family guy yet. Yeah, I've got a girlfriend. But you seem like you've got such a solid, tight-knit family. You've got Maddie, you've got Amber. That kind of, I think Maddie was born probably quite soon after all the problems that we spoke about. How's that?
No, that's what's, again, another thing that's probably gave me that. It did that. She was by 2018 November, so just after I'd won the Commonwealth title. You know, I feel like after every bad thing that happened to me, something good come out of it. Like, so, which was just keeping me, I don't know, just keeping me
alive,
going.
Aye,
literally.
You must have been
like,
so low.
Like I said, stuff like that, it's just make or break you. And I've seen previously, many people have said, you know, he's been through enough that you wouldn't grudge him at all if he walked away from the sport. But I feel like someone just kept coming to just give me that little bit extra motivation. So yeah, she was born November 2018, and changed me massively. I was young, you know, I was still young when she was born. The first couple of years I was still, I feel like a kid myself, really. 2019 I had the big fight, obviously, with Cash Farouk, British and Commonwealth titles. That was a massive step in my career, you know, that pushed me on big time. But like you said, family, everything I do now is for them. My daughter Maddie, who's 6 now, has just grown up and becoming a most perfect wee girl, and the older I'm becoming and the older she's becoming, that's just the more I'm realising that that's the most important thing ever. You know, after fights, back in the day when I was younger, was when, where we're going, where we're celebrating, what we're doing. Like, now I just want to, now I just want to get home and see Maddie and Amber. Like, just spend time. Like, this is exactly what we've done here. You know, we flew over here. We were on the plane to Dubai on New Year, on Hogmanay, on the Bells. Again, people say, why, you know, doing this or doing what? But there's nothing I want to do more than spend quality time with Amber and Maddie, and that's what we're just doing now. And I feel like that's why I am becoming the best version of myself. I'm not wasting any more time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm having my training camps, which again I'm great. Like, I'm doing back home now. We turned pro in 2017, and I've been away from home the whole time.
Right.
I was in London. All my training camps when I first turned pro in McGuigan's, that was in London. And then obviously when I was with Ben Davison in London as well. So just up until 2023, after my first that loss, I decided to come back home. And although it's been amazing being back home and doing the camp with them, like staying in the same house, it's made a big difference. Just the littlest simple things that people won't think much of, but a boxer will understand. You know, going home and your washing's getting done for you, you've got a clean bed, you've got your bathroom for you, like all just them little things. When you leave everything in the gym, they make a massive difference to you in your training camp. So again, that's where Amber's been amazing help, and even just waking up, seeing Maddie every day, being able to drop her off now and again at school before I go to the gym. Just that's gave me that wee spark back as well that I feel like I was losing. But in my opinion, I think I was in the best facilities and best gym in the country down at Ben Davison's. You know, in my opinion, I think that team is one of the best, and I've got so much time and respect for them. Sometimes, you know, I miss all the boys in that down there. Nothing to fault about that gym. It was amazing. I just feel like it was, and everybody knows me, I am a family guy, and it was getting to the stage where it was becoming difficult because, like I said, I had been away from home for so long. Just coming back home has gave me that new spark, like I say, and I think that's why obviously I got that. I've had a good year this year. Although the first 2 fights at the start of the year weren't the level that I was used to, it's exactly what I needed to do. And then we had the big win a couple of weeks ago, and like I keep saying, we're going into 2025 in a very good place.
Yeah. And what is happening in 2025? What's next?
Just waiting. Obviously, my manager Lee's on me. He's telling me to relax and have some time with the family and enjoy myself. But when I've been, I wouldn't say forgotten about, but whatever. But in the shadows a wee bit and feel like I am starting to get forgotten about. You just want to get back in there and you want to prove yourself. And I feel like that was the start a couple of weeks ago, and I'm eager to keep pushing on. But again, at the same time, from my previous experiences, I do need to learn to try and wind down, switch off, and that's what will bring the best out of me. So we're working on it. My manager Lee is on it, and it looks like we'll be probably March, April time. We'll be back in the ring, and but again, I think 2025 is going to be the best year for me, career-wise, life-wise. I think there's going to be so many life-changing things happening, and I can't wait to get going. But I just trying to enjoy this downtime as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bad at that too. A lot of people that are successful are bad at going, you know what, let's take a month, let's take 2 months, let's slow down. I mean, even now, obviously, the guys at home, Lee's got a coffee, we got a coffee on the way up here. I got a latte, granted it's skinny. He's got a black coffee that he's put sugar-free syrups in that in, and this is 2 weeks after a fight. So you're still on it. You were on the treadmill last night, Saturday night. So you're still or was it Friday night? Friday night.
Friday night last night.
You're still on it.
No, that's it. And this is what the bits you don't see.
Yeah.
Literally. This podcast. The first one I've actually done, to be fair, and it's true. And it's you try and get your point across because people will look on social media and they'll see you on the bright lights on the biggest stages ever. And I'd love to do that. That's amazing. But there's so many things that the people don't see that go on behind the scenes, and try 1 week of it and a lot of people would really struggle. Constantly playing battles in your mind, you know, are you doing this right? Are you doing that right? You can never switch off, you know. People work 9 till 5, they'll maybe clock out at that office at 5 o'clock and it's switch off time and they just totally relax. I never ever switch off. You know, you're always, like you say, you always have to try and manage your weight. My only downfalls in my career and my poor performances or whatever is, I feel like has come from cutting too much weight, or I wouldn't say cutting too much weight, but being too heavy at the start of training camps, and then that full camp is really only being focused on weight loss rather than performance. And again, that's another thing that I'll shout out Ben Davison and that at the gym for, because when you're in that gym, you're in there to get better and improve your performance. Whereas I feel like, and a lot of fighters are still sort of in that rut or whatever, and they just got all this weight to get off. You know, I've had the fight and they've went away to, like where I am now, Dubai and this place and that place, and they've come back and they've ballooned up in weight, and it's just all that training camp's about is, right, go again, get all this weight off, fight and do the same thing. And I'm quite grateful that I have done that at a young age, and I'm still only, just turned 28 actually, I forgot about that, 28, I was 28 on Christmas Eve. Still young enough, but I've experienced all that, and I feel like I've done it all. Yeah. So now it's about using after fights to just more switch off, like say, still look after myself. You know, I'm not coming over here and drinking and ballooning up in weight, and I'm just trying to enjoy a bit of downtime. The only sort of enjoyment I do get is going out for a nice bit of food and that, and I still have to run 40 minutes just to make some room for it. But it's a lifestyle that's really hard to deal with, but so many things that people don't see. And again, we've done a little documentary throughout the whole Riyadh season, fight week lead up to the fight, which will be released very soon. I just dropped a little
I've seen that,
just a wee teaser last night, and I think that is going to show a lot of people what really goes on, and I think it'll be a really good watch. You know, literally the blood, sweat and tears, there's bits in it that you see the real raw emotion, and what a lifetime of hard work can do for you, but many struggles. And like you said, there's a bit in there that's, you know, you can see even after the fight, I was emotional, and I did say that in the lead up to, I don't know how I'm going to react. I could go mad and start screaming and swearing, I could break down, but there's these feelings and emotions, you can't really prepare for them. It's one of them things, and everything sort of hit me that night. The frustration of being like, I almost feel like I was getting forgotten about, was getting in the shadows, wasn't getting my chance, wasn't getting my opportunity because I'd had one bad performance, to then thinking again, there's a bit that you do see in the changing room with my brother, and he puts his arm around me. That's me thinking and speaking and talking and saying, you know, because sometimes you do, like, life goes on and you forget about the things what I've just been talking to you about. You know, my granda, again, when I was explaining everything about my mum and stuff, I didn't even get to the bit where the 2017, when we went through all that, my granda, who, again, can't believe I did forget about this, but he was my biggest fan, a massive influence in my life and career, and the man I am today. He got me and all my brothers our first jobs, driving lessons, cars, like everything. He was the brains of the family. He was like, obviously my dad's my dad, who brought us up and done everything he could for us. But my granda was like another dad, and my gran as well, which from my mum's side, I feel like they done everything and more that say my mum didn't do. My mum had her problems growing up and everything like that, but she was still there. We still got to see her at my gran and granda's, and but that moment in the changing room was, I remember just breaking down and wishing that, because like I said, you almost forget, and I just wish that my granda could have been here to see that a couple of weeks ago, because when I was saying about 2017, when I lost my mum, he had been diagnosed with cancer through this as well.
Oh, fuck.
And obviously he found my mum dead. His daughter dealt with all that, dealt with us, dealt with my gran, trying to be this strong, but look at what he's going through as well, and then just been diagnosed with cancer as himself. And I remember throughout that, I was saying to him, you know, I imagine the party and that we're going to have when you get the all clear, granda, and it was terminal, and he knew that, and then he used to look at me and just like, I know something, but he knew, but he was that man, and like he didn't tell us, you know. He was what a guy, man, like, just, and that's why when in that documentary you see it in the changing room, and I just wish that he could have seen that. And then, like we said, we wanted to get 2017 out the way, and I said that to him, we'll get this horrible year out the way and we'll crack on in 2018. And right at the start of 2018 was when he passed away from, and I honestly, I've never seen anything like it. He was the healthiest man, unbelievable, and it just went absolutely just within so quickly. Just seen him go from, and it got to the stage where we've watched him take his last breaths, and it was getting to the stage where we're almost just wanted him to go and get out of that pain. It was horrible. He wasn't that guy. We remember him as he was amazing. I remember as well. He like I said, when I said he prepared us all for our first jobs, everything. And I remember I went into the Edinburgh Council for my first job interview. It was to become an apprentice for business and administration in Waverley Court.
Yeah.
And honestly, you would think I was reading off a script, because he had a really good job in that. He was smart, and he knew he was a manager in that himself. So he used to interview guys like myself and that. So he knew exactly what was going into. And he used to sit me down like this and that, and he used to ask me the questions, what the interview was going to be like. And I was rattling off, something working for Edinburgh Council was something I've always wanted to do. I've wanted to make a positive impact to the city. And just this wee guy, he was like, I'm telling you, if you go in there, you'll get this job.
Yeah.
And I nailed it. You would think I was reading off a book. And there it goes, I got my first job. I was working in business and admin. I'd done that for about 12 to 18 months maybe, but I was still boxing through all this as well. And then I eventually, my dream was always to get on GB. I got onto GB, and I remember having to hand in my notice in, and that was it. The rest was history. I cracked on with my career, and that, like I said, all them emotions can hit you after your wins, and that was tough. Having to, obviously, going from the biggest win in my career on the biggest stage, but just again, it's you just wish there was people here that want to sit and see it, because you wouldn't have been able to do that without them.
Yeah, mate, he'll be so proud of you for where you've got to, like, fucking hell. Yeah. Well done. I think this is a really good transition into some of the bits that you don't see. So I'm just going to let you start and talk us through it. Boxing, life, whatever it may be. What are some of the bits that you don't normally see on the front end that you need to deal with in the back end?
Again, I know. I think, like what I was mentioning, that this wee documentary that's coming out, I think is going to be a real eye opener. I know there's one being done on Josh Taylor before in Vegas. I don't know if you've seen it, but like that shows you a little bit of what goes on behind the scenes and the bits you don't see. Obviously, making weight's one of the things that people really don't see or realise how difficult that can be. Talk
us through that, because that's one of the things I've got on my list. Like, I've seen some videos of it sometimes, and it looks fucking mental.
Aye, well, it's one of the only sports that's like you're having to deplete your body, but you're also trying to become the best, strongest version of yourself. Almost seems like, well, how's that possible?
So close together as well. What, you've got 24 hours from when you get weighed until you fight, so you need to get right down, and then you've got 24 hours.
Aye, basically. So, but again, and I do think, and it's just the game we're in, and I don't know if it'll ever change or whatever, but everyone is on the same boat to a certain extent. But one thing, again, I have learned and realised, and I'm trying my best, is it is about lifestyle, and that's what I was meaning when I said you can never, ever switch off, because you're always, especially me, being through what I've been through, like, you want to try and be as close to your weight as possible, but at the same time, for example, they would say the way I walk around it, like lightweight or whatever, these guys are coming down from like 70 plus kilos. So it's like, well, if I was to fight this weight that I am now, the guys are just too big. So then you have to go down yourself. It's just finding that balance. I feel like moving up to featherweight was a really good thing I've done, and I felt great. Again, still had to cut weight for that, which is you're always going to be in that cycle. But like I said, you're trying to become the best version of yourself, but you're also in a calorie deficit. You're also trying to lose weight. So it's just finding that balance, and I do think you really need to. It's lifestyle in between training camps, but it's just getting the balance right. But the bits you don't see, you're always that last bit. You're gonna have to dehydrate your body. You're gonna have to sweat the last bit out. And again, like you've seen some of the UFC ones, and as crazy. And believe it or not, I've done some mad stuff as well. But again, there's so many things that people don't see. And like I said, you watch the bright lights and you think that's brilliant, but literally the blood, sweat, tears in the lead up to
Yeah.
that is enough to put anyone off even trying it. So but they can give you the best moments of your life. And again, through all these dark, horrible times in my career, where there's been times where I've wanted to say, no, I've had enough. When you're, like, for example, a couple of weeks ago when my hand got raised, you just think and you say, I'll go through that pain 10 times over again for this feeling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of them. It's just, it's a lifestyle, and you've got to be really, really prepared for many ups and downs.
Yeah.
You know, and the longer I'm in this game, the more I realise that it's you versus you. Yep, you've got teams. Yep, you've got managers. You've got promoters. You've got coaches. But at the end of the day, it's you that goes home and your head goes on that pillow, and it's you at the end of the day. Like, you're gonna have people around you that care about you, but they're still gonna fall asleep no problem at night.
Yeah.
Whereas it's your mind, your battles, and it's you that needs to make sure that everyone's in a good place. Like, nobody's gonna look out for yourself more than yourself.
Yeah.
It's true, and I've really realised that, and that's why I'm confident and I'm happy going into 2025.
Good.
Because I know how good I am. I know what I deserve. I know what I'm capable of, and I feel like I've got the right people around me and I'm in the right place. So I'm excited to get going with it.
Good. Now, you said there that feeling when your hand gets raised is incredible. There's one time that your hand hasn't been raised. What's that like?
Just exactly like what I just said to you there. That's when you realise, and you can have all the support, you can have everyone around you, when things are good. But when, like I said, you experience something, and again, it's so frustrating. And I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen, because I'd love to put that one right. Because that wasn't even a fraction of myself in the ring that night, and people still say that was one of the best fights of the year, unbelievable fight, and that was me at my absolute worst. So I would love to do that, fix that.
Will he fight again?
Well, this is the thing, whether it can be done at a catch weight or a different weight, or I don't know. I'm sure it could be done, but it's just, does it make sense for me in my career going forward? These are the discussions we need to make, and this is why I'm having this downtime, and then I will go away and speak. But before I go on about it, I would love to just say that I really would love to fix that. So we'll see. But yeah, going back on that.
What's his name?
Eric Robles, Mexican.
Robles,
yeah, he's decent fighter, but
you'd beat him next time.
No, 100%. Very confident I would. But this is why you live and learn. The experiences, it's the stuff I did. And the lead up to that, again, I had my coaches, and again, this is where the experience and the lessons, you need to take them, and you need to take them on board. So, remember Ben and Lee, the coaches that was at the time, advised me not to take the fight, not because I wasn't going to win it. It was because of the situation that I was in. I'd been very inactive. That was when I started the bad, I wasn't the bad, I don't know, bad luck, whatever you want to call it, was starting for me, and I was just almost starting to try and get my momentum back, like what I'd done this year. I had the 2 fights back to back to get my momentum back, and then I had the big fight with Isaac. For that one with Robles, I hadn't fought that year at all, I don't think. And they said, look, have a few, get the momentum going, and then we'll try maybe back into the year. But I was in a situation where I'd just signed with new promoters whilst I'm in boxing. I've got, your fights and activity might start, might stop, but your bills and your mortgages and your family relying on you don't. So I was in a situation where it was an IBO world title back home in Edinburgh, your home city, live on Channel 5. You dream about moments like that as a kid. And it was an opportunity that, looking back now, probably shouldn't have, but it was something I was never going to turn down. I was very, when I got offered the date, I was heavy, I'm one of them that's quite good at, say, a good poker face. You know, I've got a lot of grit and determination. If I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So I said, look, we're in a bit of a situation where I need to do this. I needed one, you need money, you need bills. Two, I wanted to get my career back. Three, I wanted to become a world champion. I wanted to headline in Edinburgh, Meadowbank, my hometown, my old amateur gym where I won the GB title and all that back as an amateur. It always just all sounded amazing, but I knew I had an uphill battle, like what I was explaining earlier about making this weight and everything like that. So, but I pushed on and I done it. But I learned a lot from that, and like I said, you go back. I went back home that night, and again, like I said, my head on the pillow, me, Amber, and Maddie in the house. Obviously, my family, my team sat with me the full night, in the changing rooms, drug tests, everything like that. Again, the things you don't see. My urine sample from the drug test, the cup was just blood, just in my urine.
That was one of the things I had in a list to say, because I remember you posting about that.
And that just shows you. And obviously the fight itself has done a bit of that, but I honestly firmly believe everything that I'd been through in the weeks leading up to that fight was just came crashing down, and I ended up. I went on holiday the next day after that fight again, which
the
I
worst
shouldn't have
holiday
done.
you've ever had.
I
hated it.
I ended up in hospital over there. I was still on a drip, and that was still even from after I'd made weight, refueled, rehydrated, had the fight. I was still like really dehydrated and it was just mental. A mad experience. It almost feels like a blur now thinking back on it all. But again, I just keep a lot of this stuff to myself, and like I've always said in the previous interviews and all that, and in the lead ups to all these fights and that, like I've always said, the people close to me know the things that have gone on, and they know how hard and how tough and difficult it's been, but I've never really fully, and again, still even on this, I've not got enough time for it, to really try. But it's mental. You know, I went over there again, probably shouldn't have, but it was planned, we done it. But like I say, it was one of the worst holidays ever. I spent most of the time bloody in the hospital, and then got myself better, and I knew again 2023 was like my 2017, and that I just wanted to get the year out of the way. 2024, obviously just off the back it now, was good, was a much better one. I got my career back on track, and like I keep saying, I'm going into 2025 the best version of myself, and all them experiences, I'm really, really confident that this is going to be my year.
Good. You spoke about COVID before, and I think it sort of correlates a little bit with some of the stuff you said there. Talk me through what happened during COVID.
Aye, that's another one.
Because you were going to be fighting here. I remember talking to you. You were going to be coming to Dubai and fighting.
That's right. No, it was mad. The COVID time was my big fight going. I think 2020 November. I got the European title shot. You know, that was my chance to become British Commonwealth European champion in 10 fights. Was a massive achievement for me. Again, people were praising me for trying to do it, and that such, you know, you look at fighters in 10 fights, they're still learning their training. That's why I was saying about earlier on about you need to try and do a couple of years amateurs, but sometimes people learn their trade in the pro game and they have 10, 15 pro fights, fighting journeymen and stuff, which again, got no issue with. But me, 10 fights going into a European title fight, and it wasn't a European title fight, a vacant European title against an opponent that we don't really know or have heard of. It was against a 5-time European champion, Karim Gurfi, French guy, who was a great fighter and had beaten a lot of British fighters, and a well-rounded fighter. So we knew it was a massive step up. But I was progressing really well in the gym, and my team thought I was ready for it. So we took it. And November 2020 was the first date. I think, again, don't fault me if I'm wrong on dates, but I think it was round about then. And just a week or so before that, that's when obviously I got COVID, so that ruled out the November date. I was in training. This is when I first sort of linked up with Ben Davison and that, and I feel like the progress I made down in that gym was unbelievable. September time, I think I started camp for that, and then November was the first original date. I got COVID, cancelled, rescheduled, January. So it was get over COVID. I sparred 12 rounds the day I tested positive for COVID. I never knew I had it. I'd done the sparring, and then I went straight away to get tested, and I come back that night or the next game day that I had COVID. I had a really good spar that day as well. So, but it did get to me eventually. So, I think it was a couple of days recovery. I was still trying to train. I was in London. You had to isolate and lock yourself away, so there wasn't much I could do. But we had the new date for January, so keep cracking on. You know, I'm in London, so I'm away from Maddie and Amber. Yeah. It's tough. It's difficult. You just want to get that fight done, won, come back, switch off, see your family. That's especially now. That's what all I live for. So January we got the new date, and then just these are all, like I said, like it's a little bit easier to deal with a cancelled or rescheduled date if it's 4 or 5 weeks in advance. But see, when they're 1, 2 weeks, when you're already down on weight and you're already ready to go, it's really, really difficult. Especially when they're only getting delayed and rescheduled for another week or two. So it's not as if you can actually go make yourself feel a bit better and go and eat a bit more and have a wee rest and reset and get ready to go again. You still have to try and be on it as much as possible. So a week or so before the January date, British Boxing Board of Control cancelled all boxing in the month of January. That's when COVID was getting really bad. Yeah, it was the 2021 a new year. So then that was the second cancelled date. I remember rightly, it was mad. Like, I remember it was obviously Dubai was still, everyone was all right over here. So the team had made a big change, and they were bringing it out to Dubai, and I was buzzing. You know, the first 2 dates were cancelled, which I was absolutely gutted about. But I thought, you know what? Look what's happening. We've landed it in Dubai now. We're going over to Dubai. I'm going to become European champion in Dubai. Unbelievable. And the night before, we were on a very early flight. And the night before we were due to fly out to Dubai, I got a phone call. I knew. They said, don't get on that flight in the morning. Dubai's going on the red list. And that's when it really got me, because I'd, like I said, September, I've been training, dieting, down on weight. Like I'm finally going to get to the end. I'm going over in for a bit of sun. I'm going to then become European champion. We'll spend another few days out there and win my belt, and I'll get to relax. No, February, don't get on the flight. But it's all right, because it's going to be back on in the UK in March. Yeah. And I was like, nah.
So you're meant to be fighting in September, and it's now March it's going to happen.
And then this is March 2021.
And it's been little bits, so you've had
just
to keep
only a couple of weeks. Aye, so it's like, go home, and Christmas, New Year and that's through this as well. So it's not as if go home, pig out, enjoy your Christmas and New Year, and we'll get ready to go again in the new year. It was, I remember it was down on my birthday was through that as well. I was could be right in saying I was in the gym on Christmas Day and that. Which again, I've always done that. I'm not saying that's a massive.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably would be if you've got a fight coming up.
So March in the UK, and that's just basically, I was losing hope. I was like, how can I believe that this is going to happen? It's when they started. Remember the UFC started it. It was all bubbles, and you were getting tested, and it's definitely will be fine. So I remember, I was saying, right, this is my last one. If this falls through, I'm giving up on this fight, no, my career. And rightly so, March 2021 was my breakout. I feel like that's where I really, really announced myself to the boxing world. 5-time European champion, Kareem Guffey, great fighter. And even to see what he's went on and done in his career since that fight, just shows you how good a statement and big a statement that was. What I done. 1 round demolition job, really. Absolutely clinical performance. Less than 3 minutes first round, and 6 months of training for it. And I remember going. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, you don't know how you're going to react to certain things in that moment. I just broke down to my knees. I remember just like it was like just relief. Whereas the one where Isaac was emotion. Everything got to me. That one was just, I think it was just relief. Like, I've done it. Didn't even really sink in either yet. So that was the March eventually. And was British Commonwealth European champion. But I do honestly believe this, and 100% fact. I would never have done the job I'd done on Kareem Guffey on the March date if it went ahead on that first date in November. The progress I had made throughout them months in the gym with Ben Davison and Lee Wiley was unbelievable. You know, the sparring, everything was just so. Again, like I keep saying, all these horrible setbacks, like the worst things that can be happening to you in your career, can turn out to be good things. And I know
the best
can't
things
believe
sometimes,
I can't believe I'm saying this, because I remember them times, and
Yeah.
like, you wouldn't wish anybody to go through them. It's horrible, but I think they make you, you know, everything has molded me into the man I am today. Everything I've been through, and although, like I keep saying, they were the most difficult times of my career, life, everything, they have made me who I am today. So it's hard for me to say, but I'm grateful for the setbacks, because they've, like I say, they've made me who I am today.
Yeah, amazing. Something we spoke about before we came up here was your nutrition. Talk me through that again, because that's quite a funny one.
I know, that's right. So I had 2019, obviously the Cash Farouk fight. I was always big for my weight. I don't know how I done it. I must, like I say, that's what I just obviously just used to train like anything and not really eat much, but because I was always big and tall but really skinny. 2019, I became British champion as a pro, and I never ate a vegetable in my life. And it's just mad. People will laugh at hearing that, and then it wasn't until I started working with Ben, and I was getting to that stage where I was becoming that man, and he said, I've got nutrition. The guy, Dave Stash, nutritionist, Dave Stash, is really good, works with top fighters, Kell Brook and all that at the time. He says, I'll put you in touch with him and he'll help you out. I was having another fight. It was another lockdown one. He says, I'll put you in touch with him and help you out. We were in Fort Ventura at the time, and I got in touch with him, and it went back and forward. He says, look, I'll help you out. There was a few questions I wanted to ask and that, and what do you like, what do you don't like, and that. And I remember going back to him and I said, I don't eat any veg. And then he went, I think something like, sorry mate, but I'll not be able to work with you if that's the case. And I remember that just some switch went off there, and I said back to him, I says, look, I'm willing to do anything to be the best version of myself, you know, and if it means I'm going on like I'm having to do like some bush tucker trial and I'm a celebrity, it was to eat some veg. I was in Fort Ventura at the time, and he said, order, because it was at a restaurant, so it wasn't the case I was back home where I could do all my food and I could do it all myself, or I could get Amber to do it. He said, I order a large chicken salad with a side of baked potato or whatever. I said, right, okay. And I got it, and I remember I took a photo of it and I sent it to Amber, and she went, no way, you know, because that was just, I would never do it. I says, I have to. And she was like, you'll not, you'll be sick and all that. I says,
you'll be sick from a bit of veg.
Mad, eh? Like that was me, that young boy back in the day. I genuinely would used to, and there'll be kids out there exactly in that situation right now at my age and what I was, and eating that salad was the best thing I'd done. You know, I feel like, and that's why I then started becoming a man. You know, I started falling out. I started getting myself into proper shape, and I feel like my life did start getting better. My skin was, remember I was talking about my skin. My skin, obviously, on medication and for that as well, but I do think a lot of it was to do with lifestyle
Yeah.
and diet as well, and everything just started seeming to get better. And I done the weight really well for that fight, and one of my best performances, although it was lockdown, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I got called out from someone on Instagram. It was lockdown. There wasn't much happening. There wasn't many fights, and this boy Ryan Walker, fair play to him. To be fair, he backed up his words. He was calling out me, and I think he was calling out Sonny Edwards and all that on Instagram. You just don't want to fight, blah blah. And I went, well, we're struggling to get fights here. We're only in the UK.
Yeah.
It's went back and forward with the team and managers, and the fight was made. And again, it was a really good performance for me, and that's when I really felt like I was starting to become a man. And then ever since then, I've just gotten better and better, more experienced. Now people say I'm too dialed in with everything, and but I feel like it has massively changed me and my career, performance, everything. So I became British professional champion, and I didn't even touch or eat one vegetable. I don't believe I would have became European champion as well if I carried on doing that. You get to these certain stages and levels where these tiny little percentages make a massive difference for you. And I think I'm getting that extra percentage every single fight, training camp, experience gained. And I keep going on and I keep saying it, but this is why I think I'm going into 2025 and the best version of myself.
Yeah. Something you said there about, was it Ryan calling you out? This is something that I just personally want to know. So fighters have all this hate and this beef before fights. How much of that is actually true? Like, how much of that is genuine hate and how much of it's for a show?
Well, no, it's a good question. To be fair, he called me out on that, and going back and forward, and there was a bit of needle and everything in the build up, but you get the respect when you're in that ring. There's probably one fight in my career that I've went in it where I've had real hate and real emotion towards it, and it was the Scott Allen fight, Glasgow.
Yeah.
I was Edinburgh. It was the cheek he was giving me in the lead up to it. We were going back and forward. We were young back then as well. I certainly was, and I cringe watching back the press conferences, the weigh-ins, and but again, and experience again. I went into that fight really, really angry, really wanting to get him, and I stopped him like I've 6 rounds or something, but it was nowhere near the best performance from me because I had that much anger and emotion, and again, it's the experience that I took from it has made me then be better in dealing with situations like that again. Isaac Lowe's a perfect example. He was pushing me. He was calling me a shitbag, calling me a quitter. But I just watched me throughout the whole build-up. I was just laughing.
Yeah.
I didn't hate Isaac. I know deep down away from the cameras, Isaac's actually an alright guy.
Yeah, because you sparred with him, right?
I've sparred with him. I've been in his company loads of times. He's a nice lad.
Yeah.
He just... I don't know what it is. I don't know if he tries to get in his opponent's head or eat the cameras or what. But I knew. So I was like, and my previous experience, but like that one before, I wasn't getting involved, and I knew at the end of the day, it's only going to be me and him in the ring, and we're going to fight, and you can be as fit as you want, as good as you want, as strong as you want, but like, if you're not in the right headspace and you're not like switched on up there, you're in trouble. And that's why I was so focused on that last fight, and I knew exactly what I had to go on and do. But again, the previous experiences helped me with that. Yeah. And I felt like that's what was good, because if I'd got carried away with that again and started pushing Isaac back, and I wouldn't have been able to perform the way I did. I felt like I boxed well enough, and the only sort of success I was giving Isaac was when I sort of stood and fought with him. But again, I knew it, and you seen it. He was giving me the pushes and that before it, but you seen the respect after the fight, and at that level, when he's done the same as you, the sacrifices, and he's got the family like you have, and you go through the same, so you know how it feels. So you got that respect there for each other, and I think that is going to be the case with me going forward with all my future fights, because that's the level I'm at now.
Yeah.
And I feel like that level, we know what we do and we know what we sacrifice and we know what it takes. So for anyone to go through and do that, you've got to respect them. So I think that'll always be the case with me going forward now.
Yeah, good. We've spoke about a lot of great stuff you've done. You've had over 70% knockouts. You've beaten 15 people, blah, blah, blah. What's your proudest moment?
In my career,
Well, life, career, anything.
I would say my proudest moment is Maddie being
Yeah.
born, becoming a dad to Maddie. That's been the best thing ever. That wee girl, just watching her every day is just amazing. You know, it's mad because when Amber fell pregnant, I was like any guy probably
Petrified.
But I was buzzing as well, like a wee boy. I'm gonna get a wee boy here and
All right.
get him into the boxing and do it. You know, like it was just, and I cannot believe, and I can't imagine me having a wee boy, and I feel almost guilty that I wanted a boy, and like wow, I would never change that wee girl for anything. Like just, it's the only, and I've never ever been like this because I was always that wee guy who was just didn't care about anything. Was quite heartless. Like I was just in my own wee bubble, my own world. Didn't really care about anyone or anyone. Showed no real emotion or that. And since she's been born, it's like, I used to slag Amber's dad and that all the time for it, greeting all the time. But since she's been born, it's just completely changed me. And but again, made me like really just mature, become a man, know exactly what I want to do in life, know what my focus is. So 100%, that's my best achievement, is our proudest moment is her being born and bringing her up and doing everything and giving her everything. Just I could say I want to give her everything, and I say never had, like I never had nothing. I did. I had things that my dad tried his best with and done what he could. It's all you can ask for. And it's the same with me. I just want to give Madison the best life that she can possibly have, and give her everything that I never had, and just try my best. Everything I do now is for her and our future, and just keep going, keep building.
Good, that's amazing. Like you said before, you've flown her over here. Nice flight, nice hotel. At age 6, you didn't go on holiday till what, you were 12?
No, it was my first holiday was late. Me and my brothers went, and we went to Turkey. I hadn't been on a plane for definitely no on planes and holidays like Maddie at 6-year-old. But again, it's things I would never change. You know, my dad done it, and he done it. He took all me and all my brothers on our first holiday. I can't remember exactly how old we were, like maybe 10 or something, 11, something like that. But then that was the start, and he started the trend for us. You know, we always go away on holiday to Turkey every summer, and I'm still keeping that up with Maddie and Amber. We go over as a family. We love it over there, and then these wee trips here, like to be able to bring her to Dubai, and that's just mad. But there's no end. There's no ceiling here. You know, I want to keep going, and I would never imagine me to be in the position I am today. But I'm nowhere near satisfied with that. You know, I want to keep pushing, and I didn't think I would ever be in this position. But it's just, and we were talking about it earlier. It's like even the same, the likes of Tyson Fury and that, like multi-millionaire, but he's still. I can imagine he's probably still he wants more. He wants to keep going, and it's the same with success. It's the same with everything. You just, and I don't know, and I can get now why and where successful sportsmen, people, everything, business and life can become a bit, I'm not going to say like depressed, but like down, because it's like you worked your whole life, and then, like for example, that night beating Isaac Lowe was unbelievable. It was an amazing night, and someone again you work your whole life for. But like at the end of the day, I went back to the hotel. We got some food, went to bed, woke up. It's another day, and I just wanted to get home and see Maddie. Like so, there's just, you can be highs, the lows, and I'm just riding this. It's a mad life, but I'm getting to experience it better than probably most. I'm getting to experience a lot of new countries that I never thought I would see, and I think that's what life's all about, is just enjoying it as much as you can. But it's it's a mad journey, and 28 years old I was a couple of weeks ago, so I've still got a long way to go and a lot more experiences to come.
I think I know the answer to this one. I ask everyone on this podcast this question. If you could go back to the very first day when you were about to pull on a set of boxing gloves, and you can either do it or you can go back to that day and not do it and live a different life, what would you do?
Obviously, I would carry on doing it. I would do things differently in the lead up to it, but no, there's no way I would not. Boxing has changed my life, and I'm so grateful to it.
Good. Have you got any more to say?
No, just obviously, like we were saying earlier on, in this career and life, boxing, everything like that, it's it can be very challenging, as we've noted. Many ups and downs, many people come and go, many doubts. But one thing I will say is, like, without the backing and help of sponsors along the way, that you can be, like I said, up there at the top of the game, and everyone wants to be a part of it. You can be down there, nobody wants to see it. But one thing I'll say is, obviously, these sponsors on this top P&D scaffold, and they been with me and sponsored me from like my first or second amateur fight. There's a photo of me as a wee guy, tiny, and I don't even think it was a bout, as in like a scored bout. It was just like a skills wee exhibition, because it was that wee. And I've got the P&D scaffold and shorts. They started off getting me my first pair of shorts, and obviously, as you go through your career, you get bigger, more attracted, and more attention, and deals and offers that obviously you can't really turn down. And as I've went, as we've come along, all the other sponsors on this top have come on board, and without them throughout all these years, setbacks, they've helped me in one way or another, and I wouldn't be in the position I am today if it wasn't for them backing me. So I think I'm, like I say, with everything, team, sponsors, I'm in a really good place, and we're really ready to crack on with 2025. So just grateful to all these guys for that have helped support and back me, and roll on this year.
The P&D scaffolding one, that one's brilliant, because they weren't doing that for them. They weren't doing that to make money. They were doing that for you, and obviously you're now able to repay that in the big fights, the Saudi cards and stuff like that, but they weren't doing that for them back then.
No, literally, like, a wee guy, just my first pair of shorts, and now I'm representing on the biggest stage in the world, and it's teamwork makes the dream work.
Nice. Right, we'll wrap up now. So this has been a fantastic podcast. Thank you to everyone for listening. Had a fantastic guest on today. Please subscribe, like, share, so we can get another great one next time. And Lee, thank you, mate. Like, that's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.